Guys, Snowflake here, coming at you after the international break with another football vlog thingy, I suppose. Um, so as you can see, this one will be about Galatasaray and what's happened over the last week. There hasn't been any big matches played, but there's still a bit to talk about. Well, while we're on the topic of the international break, I guess I can talk a bit about how it went for my national team, Turkey. We played two very difficult matches on paper. We are in a pretty difficult group. We played away to Ukraine. First match under our new manager, Mircea Lucescu. He didn't really play a very strong team, and there's a lot of question marks about his lineup, which I have to agree with. I mean, he was playing Mehmet Topal, who's normally a midfielder. He was playing him at centre back. He was starting Emre Belözoğlu in centre midfield. Played a very defensive formation, and we ended up sitting back, and Ukraine pretty much handily beat us. You could argue both of their goals, they won 2-0, both of their goals should probably have been disallowed. The first due to offside, and the second because the goal was out of play. But on the balance of it, we didn't deserve anything from that match, and it wouldn't have been fair on Ukraine not to win that game, to be honest. And then we played Croatia at home. Croatia, a bit hard done by UEFA. They had a match against Kosovo 3 days before us, which was abandoned. And then the next day, they were randomly told, you're finishing the match today. So they had to play a match basically not completely unprepared, but pretty unprepared, and then had to play against us 2 days later. And that worked in our favour in the end, and we did manage to win 1-0 thanks to a goal from Cenk Tosun, which has set up a very interesting end to the qualifying group, in which there's only 2 points between first and fourth place. Iceland, Croatia, Ukraine, and us are all up there. And there's 2 games left, and for us, honestly, both winnable games. We play against Iceland at home, who incidentally we actually beat to get into Euro 2016, and also Finland away, both winnable games, and plus the other teams will be playing against each other as well. So yeah, that summarizes the international break. Anyway, moving back to Galatasaray. So no games were played yet. We did just have the international break. If you take a look at the transfers section, you might see there's a few more names added there, which I will go into detail on. The Turkish transfer window actually ends tonight, so where everyone else ended on 31st of August, our transfer window finished tonight, or will finish tonight. Reason why it's a week later is because of Eid and it being a national holiday and people not working. So, yeah. So moving on, so we did bring in 3 more players after the 31st, which was the deadline day. So one which was very expected to come in was Jason Denayer. We paid Manchester City €500,000 to bring him back on loan. He did play for us on loan 2 years ago, impressed very much as both a centre-back and a right-back, and was very well received by the fans. Hopefully he can recover after a not-so-good season at Sunderland last year, but he's looking good so far, and he looks really happy to be back. And seeing that our centre-back, Serdar Aziz, just got injured playing for Turkey, very good timing. So good to see him back. Then we signed Yasmin Latovlevici, a Romanian left back from Karabükspor. Another pretty cheap buy, 550k. Knows the league well. He was managed by our current manager, Igor Tudor, when he was managing Karabükspor. Knows the Turkish league fairly well. We were planning to sign actually Kwadwo Asamoah from Juventus to be our starting left back, but that transfer fell through, and we'd already let Leonor Carroll go on loan to Sevilla, another left back. So we basically signed this guy to be backup to Martin Linnes. So we probably did need a backup left back. We'll see how it goes. I don't know much about him, but apparently he's decent at free kicks and crossing. So yeah, worst comes to worst, we have Linnes anyway, so should be fine. And finally, we got ourselves a good backup goalkeeper. We'd sold Cenk Gönen, our current backup goalkeeper, to Malaga, and so we've now brought in Cedric Carrasco, 35-year-old goalkeeper who has had a pretty decent career, well, very good career. He's played almost 300 games, I believe, for Bordeaux in France. So he's very experienced and should be good as a backup goalkeeper. There is one caveat: the Turkish league rules say I think you have to have a Turkish goalkeeper in the squad. But because the league allows you to have 10 subs now, there's nothing really to stop us from having him and the Turkish goalkeeper on the bench at the same time. So he'll effectively be our backup goalkeeper. So yeah, and transfers out, we did let a couple of people go. As I touched on before, Leonor Carroll was sent on loan to Sevilla. 350k they paid us, and Sevilla have the option to buy him for 3.5 million euros, which would be over double what we paid for him, so that would be a pretty good investment. Honestly, I hope he does come back. I like him as a player, but if we do get Asamoah on a free next year, then probably we'll see Carroll leave permanently. Maybe not to Sevilla, but somewhere else. But yeah, it should be a good experience for him playing for honestly a team that's much better than us, even if it is as a backup. And also we loaned Luis Cavanda to Standard Liège. We signed him last year from Trabzonspor and, to be honest, didn't play much, wasn't very well regarded. And yeah, bit of a disappointing transfer really. I don't see him having much of a future here. Mariano's pretty much got the right back spot locked down. So yeah, we're pretty happy there. We did play one friendly match while everyone else was on international break. The players that weren't played a friendly against lower league side Eyüpspor. It was a good match to watch actually. We got to see Sofyan Feghouli make his Galatasaray debut. As you can see, he did actually grow himself a goal. We got to see a few other fringe players and some of the promising players in the youth academy. It was worth watching. We took the lead after a bit of a scramble in the box, led to a 16-year-old Recep Gül scoring his first goal for Galatasaray. He looks like a very good prospect. He's been on the bench for the first team this year. Of course, that is granted we have 10 players on the bench, but honestly, I predict big things for Recep Gül, and he could be the next big thing to come out of the Galatasaray Academy. He's definitely been the most impressive out of all the youngsters I've seen. He's a good passer, can run with the ball, and he's a very fearless player, which is what I like about him. Then we went 2-0 up. Feghouli, who actually had missed a very good chance a few minutes before, and a one-on-one with the goalkeeper, was then put through one-on-one again with a pass by Gomez, and this time went round the goalkeeper before scoring. It was a good finish, and it was a very bright performance by Feghouli, considering he'll be lacking match fitness after not really playing for West Ham, as they knew he was going to leave. So it was a good start for him, and then less than a minute later we went 3-0 up. Gomez again, I think, with a pass, and Emre Başsan, who I've repeatedly said should stay at the club as a backup, scored a very good goal, and he had a very good game as well, I think. Second half, we took off most of our first team players and put on loads of young players, and Jason Denayer was also brought on for his first match back as a Galatasaray player, and conveniently enough scored his first goal as a Galatasaray player. A great header from a Emre Başsan corner to make it 4-0. Then we took our foot off the gas a bit, and Eyüpspor actually did, to their credit, get a couple of goals. A header from a corner by Niger Bayraktaroğlu, and then not long later, one of our youngsters, Abdul Samit, I think his name was, one of our youngsters gave away a penalty, which was scored by Genjai out of 10. So the score looked closer than it really was, but it was a good performance by Galatasaray. And we were missing players who were on international duty. Not too many, to be fair, but Serdar Aziz and Tolga Çergi were on international duty with Turkey, for example. I think Linez was away, Eren Derdiok was away, Muslera, our goalkeeper, was away as well. Yeah, a good result. So, things to talk about then. The main thing people are talking about at the moment is a little, well, not a little player, a player called Arda Turan. Started his career at Galatasaray, was our captain, had some very good years at Galatasaray before getting his big break at Atletico, and then arguably getting a bigger break at Barcelona. Whereas since then, he's not been working too hard and he hasn't been getting into the Barcelona team, despite there being a chance for him that after Neymar leaving, he hasn't really taken it, and Barcelona, I think, are trying to get rid of him. There are rumours that we want him on a 2-year loan, with Barcelona paying a good amount of his wages, as we probably can't afford all of his wages. And yeah, as I said before, the Turkish transfer deadline is tonight, so if it doesn't happen tonight, it will not happen. Of course, it would be a return to the club where he started. He's a big Galatasaray fan, as well as having played for us before. He does still follow the club, and it might be remotivated to, get back to his best if he comes back to Galatasaray. I don't know. I'm not too sure about that. And of course, his experience at Atletico Madrid and Barcelona could be helpful. He's played under different managers, like Simeone in particular, someone he'd have learnt a lot under. Hopefully he'd be able to carry some of that knowledge to us. However, there is a lot of serious drawbacks to Arda coming back. He has had a lot of problems with his attitude, his ego. He got into a fight with a journalist that ended up in him being sent home from the national team and then retiring from the national team as a result. And then he came straight back once Fatih Terim was sacked and Lucescu took over. Doesn't seem to make his mind up. He hasn't been working hard at Barcelona. Specifically left Atletico for Barcelona because Simeone was working him too hard there, which I don't agree with at all. And right now we're playing really well, and potentially Arda could be a disruptive power in the dressing room, which is not something we would want. I'd hope he wouldn't be, but I don't know. It's the way everything sounds. It seems like Arda might be more of a drawback to sign than he is worth, but if he gets a chance here, I'll support him. We do need good Turkish players as well as our good foreign players. Even if, well, then another thing which I haven't mentioned here is, actually I did mention it now that I'm rereading it, would he even take a place on the bench? Because right now, I don't think he would deserve to start over the likes of Tolga Çergi, who scored 4 goals in 3 games, Belhanda, Rodriguez, Feghouli. I don't think he's better than them at the moment, and he'd have to work his way into the team. And a player like Arda, who honestly thinks he is a lot better than he is at the moment, I don't think he'd like to sit on the bench and would probably complain to the media about it. But we'll see. Well, speaking of people who Arda wouldn't replace, Gary Rodriguez, who is a Cape Verde international. For those of you who don't know where Cape Verde is, it is an island. Is it an island in Africa, or is it just really far east? It is an island, isn't it? Yeah, it's an island. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah, it's an island. So yeah, Gary Rodriguez. Regular for Cape Verde, scored 2 goals against South Africa, put in a very good performance. he's starting to show signs he can replace Bruma. He's had a good start for for Galatasaray as well. He hasn't been scoring yet, but he's been getting plenty of assists and he's working really hard. He did get a red card for the opposition team against Kayserispor as well. And yeah, he could in theory help Cape Verde qualify for their first World Cup. They're still very much in contention for a World Cup spot. They're tied in first in their group with Burkina Faso, with Senegal just behind them with a game in hand, but it's still possible. And if he keeps playing like that, who knows? He might do. More big news is that the league, who right now has not a very strict foreign limit, but you're allowed 14 foreign players in your squad, 11 of which can be in your team. They're talking about limiting that back down. It used to be really strict, as in only 5 foreign players in your entire squad, but yeah, it looks like those days might be coming back. It would give Turkish players more of a chance to develop. The national team has seen better days, but even when we had this foreign limit before, it didn't really help the Turkish national team that much. It sort of gave more of a vibe of players not really knowing they don't really have to try hard to get into their club teams and then not improving themselves to be good for the national teams, if that makes sense. Whereas now, where we have foreign players pushing them to their limit and forcing them to play better in order to get into the team, I think that's better for the national team than the way it is currently. And there is an interesting conspiracy theory that right now Fenerbahce isn't doing too well in the league. They had a very slow start to the season. And there's rumours that they're pushing for this in order to hold us and Beşiktaş back to try and catch up with us. And that's exactly what they felt like the reason was the last time they brought in such a strict limit. And then there's, of course, the quality of the league and Galatasaray would decrease. And then we'll potentially lose our European coefficients and less people will want to join us. And, of course, TV money as well. So there's a lot of things to think about there. As I touched on earlier, Asamoah's transfer did fall through at the last hurdle, unfortunately. There is some good news, though. His contract does end next summer, and he really did want to join us, so the option is there for us to sign him next summer. We did actually get another left back in the end. It's signing Latov Levici from Karabakh. Not as good as Asamoah, but still adequate cover, I suppose, in left back. His ability to play in multiple positions would have been really good for us, as we're not too good on squad depth. So someone who can play in multiple areas would be really good. And yeah, the main reason why Juventus backed out, it was Juventus who backed out. They couldn't sign a backup. They were trying to, but they couldn't get one in time. So they decided they needed to keep Asamoah. Fair play, I suppose. The 5 million euros wouldn't mean much to them anyway, as opposed to not having adequate backup. And this news I found interesting. So Leonor Carroll, who we've just loaned out to Sevilla, is actually blind in his right eye, and he's been playing like that, I think, since he joined us. So I think given that and the lack of depth perception that would come with that, he's been playing really well. But I find it really strange that no one knew about it or no one shared it until now, even though he's been playing for us for 2 years. And if we try and sell him now, clubs will know that and probably not want to sign him for as much money, if at all. I just found that really peculiar and interesting. But yeah, moving on. Oh well, actually we're almost it. We just had one brief bit of other news where our third kit for the season has been leaked, and I think it looks pretty good. It's nice and simple. I like the purple vibe to it. Doesn't stand out too much, which is good. And yeah, I'm happy with it. I'm sure you guys can let me know your opinion if you want. But other than that, that's all I had to cover regarding Galatasaray. I hope you enjoyed this shorter vlog. Not as long as my season preview, not as much to cover, but yeah, I guess shorter might be better for some of you who get tired of my voice pretty quickly. Alright, see you later.